good night. Now the question is, did it actually split the recording? It did! Okay, so for context, I tried a split recording keybind, and it worked. So now that I know that worked, I'm actually going to be pausing this because I need to respond to a message. And after that, I'm going to essentially be showing how I create custom GPT deep research outputs. So I shall be right back. Okay. So now, essentially, you are seeing my ChatGPT window account. What we're going to be doing today is I want to I want to show the back end of how I've optimized my systems for deep research. If you're not familiar with deep research regarding OpenAI's ChatGPT service, it is essentially a profound, extensive research tool. My God, I could have said that so much better. But essentially, it triggers a deep research run, which will execute on the task that you want. It can include searching online or not. Today, it will. And essentially, what it looks like is you ask it a question. So, for example, I want to do a deep research run on blah, blah, blah. I want to do a deep research run on the state of the Canadian economy. And so then once you launch into that, you would trigger a deep research run. I've got technically not 20 left. I've probably got 5 true runs left. And oh my God, I've got 4 days to use up my entire stock. Good to know. So basically, this is not the one we're actually going to be doing. So I've delayed a little bit, and we are midwinter, and I don't yet have my winter tires. The reason for that is that I accidentally delayed switching from my winter tires to my normal tires last year and ended up running on them for a few months too long. And then also I think they were without the proper amount of air inside of them, so they ended up getting a little bit damaged and they were worn out. And also it's basically been 4 years since I purchased them, so they were getting close to being due for a change. However, it just so happened that they were no longer at the thickness required to be safe, and so they were thrown out. All I've got now are the actual wheels. I don't have the tires, and I need to purchase new tires, then have them installed into my car so that I have winter tires, and currently I don't. So when I'm driving, I really don't feel all that safe, and it's hard for me to accelerate or brake properly, and what I'm doing is literally illegal. So I've been putting it off for quite a while, and I'm realizing there's no real need for that. So what I'm going to be doing here is showing you how I go about triggering a deep research run. I'm going to be asking it to find suitable tires, a good location, different prices, installation requirements, and I'm going to show you how someone would normally do it, and I'm going to show you how I've learned to do it to get the most out of my system. Now, if you're curious for more on this and many other AI tips and strategies will go into the Academy's course curriculum. But here I'm basically just highlighting something that I knew I needed to do anyways. I'm going to record it so that way you have a bit of an understanding behind the process that goes into how I optimize for deep research. Also, we've got a little Fluffy here to keep us company. Actually, let's see if I can switch the camera view. Oh, you beautiful little thing. Oh, yes, you are. Hello. Okay, let's see if I can... Does that do it? Oh, no. He's out of view. A little bit too high. Hello. Hello. Yeah, he wants food. Actually, it is time for food. So let's get him some food. All right. And we will return to our regularly scheduled program. Oh, actually, wait. This way it'll track my face. No, let's stick with this. It's going to be more predictable. Okay. So essentially, the way that people would normally do a deep research run is basically like I said. So they would trigger deep research, so that way it's in deep research mode, and then they would basically just explain whatever they have on their mind. and then they would send it, and it would basically likely ask them a few questions to elaborate, and then it would trigger a run. It would run for a few minutes to tens of minutes, depending on the complexity of the request, and then it would output a document that you can save or print or ask questions about, and that's basically it. But the thing is, a deep research run first takes a lot of time. It literally runs for multiple minutes if it's super simple, or I think my maximum was a 42-minute deep research run, or 44, something in that range. I had a phase where I was trying to get it to be as long as I could, and I was quite happy. But essentially, you only get a certain limit of these per month, and of course, in my case, I haven't really used mine this month, but usually I'm actually pretty good at using all the 10 powerful deep research runs, and then you have an additional 15 weaker baby deep research runs. So I'll be working to get that done in the next 4 days before the counter resets, because it's just good use of your money. And I'm going to be showing you how to get the most out of it, because not only are there considerations to the amount you have available depending on your plan, the consideration of, is it actually going to be of good quality? Is it going to be worth your time? Because it takes some time to ask the request, then it takes a lot of time to wait for the answer, and then you have an entire document to read. If it's not going to be of value to you, that's not really all that useful, right? And so the way someone would normally do this, and I'm just going to unresearch this just so that I don't accidentally trigger it, but let's say I were to do the actual run that I was requesting. My goal is to trigger a deep research run that is going to give me an understanding of the best places and prices that I can buy winter tires. For context, I have the actual wheels, the metal part of the tires for my car. I am just missing the tires themselves, because the previous ones that I had were worn out and they need to be thrown away because they were no longer safe to use. But now I'm using summer tires in the winter in Quebec. That is illegal. So I would like for you to research in the surrounding area to see what tires are available and what the best prices are, whether or not I could even install it at that location. Just help me help myself. Now, just sending it like that, there's a few considerations. First off, it's not really precise. What am I asking? I'm also not really specifying what type of tire, because perhaps there's different sizes or tractions or qualities. Maybe I have a price range. So this is the normal request that someone would probably give, with maybe a few details like, oh, I have this car, I have this model, I have these needs, I have this budget. But generally speaking, this is what someone would probably send. And they would send it like this. It would ask a few questions, and you could turn that into a better prompt, so you could turn that into a deep research run. But here, it didn't even do that. It just decided to execute exactly on that. So it's doing extended thinking for this. That's not really what we're going for. So now I'll show you the next level. Like, this is basically just beginner user. You're not even running a deep research run. The second one would be going over here. Actually, you know what? Since I have deep research runs to burn, I actually will show it in the full way. So now let's go deep research. Yeah, you know what? Why not? It'll be interesting to compare. Okay, I would like to trigger a deep research run. Here's the situation as it stands. I live in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and it is currently winter. According to the law, I needed to have changed from my summer to winter tires many months ago, and I have not. And right now, not only is that illegal, but also it is very dangerous. I don't feel safe when driving. I would like to perform a deep research run that looks at available tires in my area for a Nissan Sentra SV 2021. And just for clarification, I have the metal wheels, I just don't have the tires themselves. I would need new rubber and installation, and then actually putting them on the car. So with that consideration in mind, I would like for you to trigger a deep research run that will look at the surrounding area and get me a list of tires, prices, installation guides, or installation locations, and things of that nature. It can be done at my local garage, or it could be done where it is purchased if they offer that service, but I'm looking for something that is going to be price effective, of good quality, and in the nearby region. And so now we're actually going to use a deep research run on this. technically have another 5 full runs in the next 4 days. I could definitely think of useful ways to use that, but at the same time, I actually am curious to see the difference. So I'm going to do this only once, but I'm going to use one of my runs to, because the thing is, on the Plus plan, you only have access to 10, I think 10 or 15 powerful ones. Then you have an extra either 10 or 15 weak ones that are very limited in their scope. So because it's resetting in 4 days and tomorrow's Christmas, so I'm not really going to do much work, I'm open to being flexible with this. If I were in the Pro plan, I would have, I think, 40, so that's not really a consideration. So with this, we will run. It's likely going to ask me a few questions. Okay, so now, before I launch Deep Research, oh, actually, wait, let's see if you can actually hear this. I don't often use this.
Got it, Onrif. Before I launch the deep research, could you please clarify a few quick points? One type.
Wait, let's. Because normally I would have headphones. And also, just for the record, right now I'm doing a personal accountability. Yeah, personal health accountability challenge where I'm not wearing my headphones inside the home for the rest of the month, unless I have a specific need. But I've noticed that I'm over relying on them, and when I wear them, it helps to sedate me because I'm always listening to something. I'm kind of isolated from my environment. I'm not really listening or responsive to it. I'm not interacting with my cat. I don't really hear my brother when he comes in. It's not good. So basically right now I'm testing my relationship with technology by essentially abstaining from using the headphones indoors for the next 7 days. But yeah, so now let's see if I can turn off the microphone while it reads and only put in the actual desktop audio.
Got it, Onrif. Before I launch the deep research, could you please clarify a few quick points? One tire type preference. Do you want studded winter tires, studless ice snow tires, or are you open to either as long as they meet safety and legal standards? 2. Budget range. Do you have a ballpark figure in mind for the total cost, tires plus installation? 3. Purchase install radius. How far from Montreal are you willing to go for installation? Within the city, up to 25 kilometers, 50 kilometers, etc. 4. Time frame. How soon do you need this done? This week? Within a few days. Once you give me that, I'll trigger the research right away.
That was surprisingly unpleasant. Okay, so now what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually quite curious because the thing is I'm realizing I don't really know what a studded versus studless tire does. So, So I'm actually going to undo the research mode because I don't know if asking further questions is going to trigger it immediately or not. I don't know how smart it is, so I'm just going to not take the chance. All right, so I've got questions. I'm actually unaware of the different tire configurations, what that does. So could you explain to me the difference in both efficacy, but also in price of studded winter tires, non-studded, also the regular legality? Because from my understanding, studded winter tires are sometimes literally not allowed in certain places because they could damage pavement and certain, or they could damage certain environments. So I would like an estimate on price, on safety, on all of that. Also, but I am actually open to all configurations so long as they are safe for me to use and legal to use. That being said, in terms of budget, I actually have legitimately no concept of a price on what is good or what isn't when it comes to tires because I've only had to purchase them once when I bought the car and it came with it. So I am learning for the first time the actual price of tires and I've not looked into it. So can you give me an estimate of where I'm looking at? What is low, what is medium, what is high, and what are the advantages of actually going at a higher cost? Is it that it lasts longer? Is it that it's, all these considerations? Help me understand what I'm getting into because I truly I don't know what to ask for and I don't know what to look out for. So I'd like your input on that as well. As for the install and purchase radius, within the city would be ideal, but up to 25 or 50 kilometers around me is acceptable if there really is a difference in quality or price. And Ideally, if it could be done within 1 week, that would be cool. Though, given that we're basically entering the holiday period, it's likely that it's going to take a little while, and I'm honestly down for it to take up to 2 weeks, but it really shouldn't be more than that because at a certain point, that is just markedly unsafe. So please give me that information so that we can proceed with a better understanding. Now, I'm going to send that, and while it does its thinking, we're actually going to look at the original chat. So if we go here, basically, okay, I'll grab your rough location context and blah, 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 blah. So, outcome. Get you legal and safe winter tires, fast at the lowest cost. Oh, nope, that's not what I wanted. So, reality check. Well, damn. Okay, so studded tires are generally permitted October 15th to May 1st. Now, blocker tire size. I wonder how they know this. I'm guessing it's only if I'm stopped, because I wonder if I go to a place and I ask to install it, if they're legally required to turn me on. But either way, I need winter tires for my own safety and that of others. So the blocker tire size. Exact best price is impossible without your tire size, load, speed, rating, no. Everything plus price, availability, install fees hinges on that. Okay. So online discount retailers often the cheapest total if you manage install. These are strong when you already have rims and just need tires shipped and then mounted locally. Yeah. Quattro tires. Big inventory, affiliate garages, install prices vary. Let's actually look at their tire sizes. Their, how to read, affiliated garage. Yeah, okay, so I'm guessing per tire it's around 150 to start. So including taxes, it's probably safe to say that it's $200 per tire, give or take. This is Canadian, so a good 800 and plus installation fees. I'm probably looking at a good 1,000 plus for 4 tires. Okay, so then online book and install. Blackcircles.net allows you to buy online and choose an installer. Pretty convenient. One-stop shops, Canadian Tire, Costco. They can be good, but you'll only know after you plug in your exact size and compare. Okay. And so basically, because here I had not given the specifications of my car, the type and all that, that is a little more limiting. So... Oh, wait, what the fuck? Oh, that's a fitting. Okay, no. So basically, purchasing the tire, that's different from the installation of the fitting. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. And perfect. So then it basically created a deep research prompt for me to execute on that goal. And if we go a little closer to understand what that looks like. Okay. Yeah, so that's a pretty decent summary of the way that I could execute for a deep research run. It's not bad because ChatGPT will do a lot of the thinking for you, trying to anticipate what you want, but it's still a little limited. Now, if we go here, we'll see the overview of what it was explaining. So yeah, right now I'm definitely in the illegal zone. The mountain with snowflakes symbol or studded. Okay, so studded tires are legal with rules about having the both ends of the axle if in front of studded, then rear must be too. Ah, interesting. So studless, the best default choice for Montreal. They're best for mixed winter reality, snow, slush, cold wet pavement, blah blah blah. Why? Modern rubber compounds and sipping do a lot without the downsides of studs. Trade-offs: on pure glare ice, they can be slightly behind studs. Studded winter, best for unplowed roads, rural driving, steep icy hills, frequent early morning driving before cleaning. Downside: noisier, rougher ride, more pavement wear concerns, often not better on dry or merely wet, cold roads. Huh. Yeah, and it adds basically an extra 30 before taxes per tire. And basically, given that I'm in Montreal, that doesn't really seem necessary. All weather can count. So all weather seems a little overkill. Yeah, a dedicated winter set makes more sense. So now, for the prices, per price band, low is 99 per, not that bad. Medium, 160 to 230, pretty much what I was thinking. Winter tires in this size category starting around 117. Okay. And then premium, 214 or more. Install costs, because I already have the wheels. Okay, so with a set of 480 to 180, it's quite a range. And okay, so the budget setup 600 to 900 all in, mid-range 900 to 1000, premium. Yeah. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense. And now, with the higher price, you're buying a combination of shorter braking distance, better slush evacuation, lower noise, longer thread life, and sometimes better manufacturer support warranties and fewer surprises. So the smart spend is usually mid to premium studless winter rather than anything else. Okay. So now in that case, ooh, what's on the current tire sidewall of your driver door jam sticker? That's a good question. I'll actually have to go and check now. So I'll pause the recording and I'll be right back. All right. And I'm back. Now, let's go for it. Okay, so the front and the back have the same specifications, and it is 205/60R16 with 92H. And in cold pressure, it is 230 kPa at 33 psi. Also, if this is relevant, the seating capacity is 5 with 2 in the front and 3 in the back. Okay. So now, that is the tire size. And now as for the price range, let's go with the mid-range tier for price along with the studless winter tires, as it is the best default choice for Montreal. So now, basically with this, we are going to do one more little step. So, okay, so next step, so I can pull local deep research. With this, I now want you to trigger a deep research run. Okay, so now it might ask a clarifying question or just confirming. Going studless. No, yeah. Rims, I already have the steel wheels, only the tires plus install and balancing are needed. Mid-range, not cheapest, but not premium. Service radius within Montreal preferred, up to 50 kilometers if significantly better price or value. That is correct. So now, while this runs, I'm basically going to be starting a new one, but I'm going to show you how to optimize for it instead. So the thing is, when you ask a question, you're asking as a human, and it does its best to try and anticipate your needs. Now, because it has a lot of context about me, where I live, certain things like that, it can infer a little bit more than a little bit less, but still it has its limits. So what gets really interesting is what happens when you create a custom GPT that literally is designed to optimize your prompts. So now we have the regular input, we have our prompt. Oh, actually, I'll just pop in a new chat over here. Okay, so, interesting. I guess it needs to be updated. But the idea is I made this based off of someone else's concept of Lyra, basically a prompt optimizer, but I increased its capacity. What I like about this one is I've gone a lot deeper into how it should actually optimize prompts, And also, I added a function that basically all the other prompt optimizers did not seem to specifically account for as its own independent mode of operation, that being deep research. They were not optimized for deep research, which bugged me, because optimizing a regular prompt and optimizing for deep research is in no way the same thing. They have similar concepts and boundaries, but it's really not the same thing. In fact, right now, I'm currently about to scrap the copywriter mode, and instead I'm replacing it with optimizing for an agent run. So we're working on developing more of this. It's currently very early in its phase, but we're now essentially going to be optimizing with this prompt optimizer for a deep research run. So now it's looking in its core documents for the information related to deep research runs. And once it comes back with that output, we're basically going to specify what we're looking for. Also, we are going to go to extended thinking just for the sake of this conversation. And all right, I'm going to be pasting a series of instructions from a different chat just to save time, but the idea behind it being I'm looking for winter tires and installation. I want you to do a review of what I paste just so that you have a context of what I'm actually looking for according to specifications and needs. And then once we confirm what I'm looking for, we're gonna have a conversation about how you can optimize that prompt and that output. And from there, you are going to give me a deep research ready prompt that I can paste into a new chat. So what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to come here and borrow some of, actually, because the chat is relatively small, we're just going to copy all of it. Start of transcript. Bloop. Oh, no. That did not copy. Hey! Oh, my brother's about to be back. Okay, so I'm realizing that this is actually slightly problematic because it's currently incorporating the thinking for some reason. I'm not sure, that's not optimal. So let's actually hide the thinking by just manually selecting this instead. Perfect. And then over here, we're going to go back. End of transcript. So now it's basically going to look through. I would not have done it like this had the conversation been much more extensive, but it's relatively short enough that it can parse through it and just understand what is or isn't needed. The reason why I'm going at it like this is, well, the reason why I'm using the prompt optimizer is that a human has a limited capacity to know what it doesn't know. And of course, talking to another human, we're literally built and evolved for that, and we have a lifetime of learning. But it's not as intuitive how to speak to an LLM. There's certain words or key phrases that help it optimize for the result that we're looking for. And remember, deep research runs not only are limited in their capacity and limited in their availability, but they're also limited in the scope of how we phrase their requirements. So the quality of output will entirely depend on our ability to execute on a demand. So now, for example, I've designed this here so that it always makes it much easier to access. But basically, this is going to be the output that it's providing. And it seems like it even just skipped the requirements and just went directly to it. And this is going to be interesting. Because basically now I want to compare this. Okay, it's because I was zoomed in too much. I couldn't see the side window. But yeah, so basically right now, while it's thinking this is the results of the research, it's currently looking at various sources and it's trying to find good options in the local area. So now as we go here, review of the pasted specs, Montreal, vehicle, tire size rating. Actually, I just want to confirm something very quickly, but I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. Wheels already have steel rims, only need tires plus mount and balancing, then install on car. Type preference, studdless winter tires. Budget mid-range, search radius, then a time frame within 1 week. Absolute 2. Output, local availability price, blah, blah, blah. Nice to have details that could improve local accuracy, but are not required. Your postal code nearest intersection. and whether or not you had TPMS warning. What is that? Tire pressure monitoring system. Hmm. Okay. Key improvements that it baked into the prompt: locks in the exact fitment and constraints, forces install total pricing, not just tire price listing requirements, requires availability in appointment windows so it stays actionable, adds a clear deliverable structure, table, topics, rubric, execution plan, includes a single optional clarifier, postal code without blocking progress, acceptance criteria, produces 8 plus locally available studless tire location options for this, includes the pricing, install estimates, capture stock status, earlier appointments, and things of that nature. Okay, so now we're going to execute at high depth, and I want you to take the following into consideration. What are requirements that perhaps we have not looked into in the previous chat? What are ways that I could potentially save a little money, or maybe look at even getting premium tires for a lower price if we're willing to extend the timeline a little bit, or different payment versions? What are different ways that I could look at? What am I not thinking of? What do I not know to ask for? Also, as for general locations, let's call that. I am close to the. I really don't know locations over here. Close to Angrignon Park. Let's put it that way. Close to Angrignon Park in Metro, that general area. So, with this information, what are we not taking into consideration that we could? And the reason why I like asking this question is, well, for one, I've literally designed it to consider what I may not have considered, but especially when prompted directly like this, it forces it to always reassess. A common failure when it comes to using an LLM or an AI of this type is don't just ask once, because it will give you an output, but then you can always refine and refine. Of course, eventually you get diminishing returns, but asking at least once is very useful. So even though it basically just gave me the original output, I do still want to go into it and look at, I really don't know what I'm doing with winter tire purchases. It's the first time that I'm buying tires exclusively. Before, I just purchased my first car, and with that car came the entire bundle of everything. So I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm asking for. I don't know what the limitations are. I don't know if maybe there's a better way to go about it. Perhaps something about this process is inefficient. Because I asked for very specific requirements from the previous chats, maybe it's giving me exactly what I asked for, but because I didn't know to ask for something else, it's not asking it. So right now, it's doing a comprehensive analysis of how we can optimize for asking the question itself in the structure of this prompt. So then the prompt itself will have a lot more to execute on. So now, looking at the update, it's going back in and it's doing edits, but essentially, very interesting. Ooh, that's glitchy as hell. Okay, so the biggest unknown unknowns. The real cost is not the tire price. Hmm. Makes sense. Nope. Return policy after mounting is a trap. What does that mean? Oh, okay. That's interesting. I guess if you purchase the tires, you can return them up until they're mounted. But then if they're mounted and you realize there's a problem, then their sneakiness makes it so that you can't return it. Huh. Okay. Used tires can save money, but only with safety checklist. Premium tires can become a mid-range price through discounts. So the research could actively hunt for manufacturer rebates, season promos and coupons, end of season clearouts. Installation lead times can be part of the purchase decision. A great deal that cannot be installed for 3 weeks is not useful. The prompt now requires earliest appointment windows, the delivery times for each option. You can now optimize for fast or cheap, but not perfectly both. So the research should give you two pathways. Path A, safest and legal within 7 days, and Path B, money optimized so you can extend the timeline a bit. And if you have no storage, no. Okay. So now I will give you an answer to the things that we might not be factoring in, but should. The information about the real cost, if not tire price, that is very interesting, and I would like a more detailed, itemized list of fees and possible variances when the information is available. For point number 2, old stock risk, yeah, I would want to know if it is an older, cheaper stock because I would also like to not die. It's part of why I want winter tires in the first place. When it comes to 3, return policy, that is very interesting if that information can be validated as, like, it may not always be available as information, but if we can identify that we are able to return it even after mounting if there is an issue, that is something that should be identified as a positive perk with perhaps a grading scale rubric of some kind that can be adapted to our needs. When it comes to point number 4, used tires can save money but only with safety checklist, that's good, but I'm not entirely sure how much of this information you would be able to see purchasing online. This seems more like the type of thing where you go into a local shop and it basically shows you tires physically in person. So I don't know how applicable this is to online purchases and reviews, but if it is, absolutely bake that into the search prompts. Now, for the point number 5 tier, premium tires can become mid-ranged through discounts. Yes, so that I would definitely want you to look at that, but like you put in point number 7, I can optimize for fast or cheap. So the thing is, given that we're going both paths, I would want you to bake in the availability of point number 5 into the path B of point number 7, so that we can have a better understanding of both options. Now, for point number 6, the installation lead times are part of the purchase decision. That is very true, and that's also going to be factored into point number 7. Now, for point number 8, I actually have storage, so that's not required. And from that point on, we are ready at high depth. And actually, no, it's true. There's another depth mode that I forget the name of because I haven't used it in a while. But remind me, do you have a truly high depth version, a very high depth, that is still human output compatible, or is it purely LLM output compatible? Because essentially I designed a complexity version where it's essentially creating a mass condensed output that is designed for another LLM to parse through. And although a human can read it, it's just really not optimized for human comprehension, and it's dense. It's very dense and very extensive. So I would still want to have it human outputted, but let's see. While it's thinking, let's see if the deep research previously completed. Yes, it did. Okay, so it went for 4 minutes. It looked at 10 sources and did 72 searches. So as you can tell, 4 minutes, like, I have not seen a 4-minute deep research in a very long time, and it's because I basically optimize for the process. But I'm actually very curious to see what this looks like. We're going to zoom out a little bit because I'm having some frustration with this. So looking at the actual, can I not pop into it? Okay. So basically just looking at its size very quickly, it's decently long, and that's not always a good or bad thing. It's interesting how much data it actually provided. So looking at safety tire importance, the fines, blah, 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 studded versus non-studded. Okay, so it gives me some explanation, which is interesting, which to choose depending on the location you're in, the tire options for the car that I have, and yeah, so that's good. Now, for the budget options, I don't know if this is actually offering its great example, but I don't know if it's talking about actual items. And you can kind of see it's hard for me to tell what's important information and what's just information. This is very like, okay, considerations, where to buy tires. But this is just mass text blobs. And it's like I see bolded prices. So it's like, okay, so for example, Canadian Tire's in-house certified winter trek is suitable for winter tires of this type and costs about this much. So I have an idea of where I could get them at large chain retailers, wholesale clubs like Costco, specialized tire shops, and garages. So I have some options available to me, online retailers with local installation, and the recommendation. So now, budget expectations and value for money. No expectations of pricing, so it gives me an idea of what could be depending on different versions, but it's not giving me any specific recommendations here. That's interesting. Now, timeline and next steps. Immediately call around to find and book installations. But so it's not like it's literally telling me you could go here, you could go here, you could go here. Now call around to find out. But that's why I did deep research. I wanted you to find out. And now the reason why I'm getting a little stingy with this one is it's intentional. I intentionally ran this knowing it would be underwhelming. And we can return to it a little bit. I just want to see if this has basically produced what we're looking for. And yes, it has. So now look at this. Oh, also what's nice is that I've programmed Lyra to output this in such a way that it will automatically round the, it'll curve it into a new line. So that way you don't have the same, don't have the same issue here of not being able to really see the information. Here it's just all nice and done. Really, I literally made this for my use and it is amazing. So now selection criteria, money saving levers to implement different paths, sourcing priorities, methods, deliverables, and multiple points, multiple steps, and then clarifiers, ask once if needed, what is my postal code or nearest major intersection? Perfect. Okay, so now it's added all of these configurations into it. Let's see what it is looking like now. So a more detailed fee list and variance requirements. Old stock risk becomes a hard requirement. Return policy as a scored attribute. Used tires are treated as optional with realism. Premium for mid-range savings is explicitly path B. Storage is marked as available. And yes, very high output can still be human compatible. So, trade-off is length. In that case, I want you to optimize the instructions of the output to clarify that I want a very high output, but I want it to contain in the very beginning of the document a human overview with an explanation of if you want more information or more details on this section, go to this section header. So that way I'm able to have a very comprehensive document that can self-reference itself. And then I want it to give a human readable overview summary that gives me the clear recommendations per tire category, path A, path B, and basic recommendation links to basically next steps. So I want it to be categorized in such a way that it is still very human usable, but also contains dense information of high depth and value. So now with this, it's going to be regenerating for the final time. And once it provides me with the output, then I'm going to be going into the new model and just pasting it. Also, I saw that at the very end of the prompt, you have a clarifier to ask once if needed. I just want you to bake into the prompt itself that my approximate location is Angrignon Park or Angrignon Metro. And in order for you to be able to put where that is, I actually want you to do a search and find out the approximate postal code or location so that you can bake that into it so you don't need to have the clarifier within the prompt itself. Ready to execute. So basically, talking to an LLM is very different than talking to a human. You're talking to a retarded genius where they are truly exceptionally literal. They will not necessarily account for contradictions, and especially ChatGPT's OpenAI's ChatGPT, it's a little sycophantic and it really goes into an incredible amount of detail to try and please you, to the point where it becomes sabotaging a little bit, which is why in my personal memory instructions, I have extensive detail in customizing its personality to make sure that it accounts for how frustrating it is and can be. So that is a nice little perk on the side. So now, while this is basically computing, let's go back over here. So ideally doing it within 1 or 2 weeks, but then it basically just says, okay, so call immediately, given the holidays, and drive as little as possible, check legality if studied, plan installation visit, but it's not, it's underwhelming. And then it gives me a list of citations, but this is profoundly underwhelming. So now, once this is complete, and it looks complete, beautiful. Okay, so now I'm gonna go here. Okay, initiate deep research and send. I'm just confirming. So, do I want the shortlist to include only new tires with separate checklists for used if no good options, or am I open to reputable used tire listings as long as they meet all safety and documentation standards? So what's interesting also is that the way that I designed Lyra, and right now it's not really responding in this way, but it's supposed to... Yeah, that's weird. So it is supposed to... Huh. Yeah, so the way that I designed it, it's supposed to then tell me, okay, so now that after you've pasted it, you'll be getting a reply. So basically, every single time you run a deep research, it asks you at least a question. So it's supposed to then prompt me back to say, and if you get a question, you can, So now I'll simply do the work for it, and I need to update it anyways, but, oh, it's true, it broke when it went from 4 to 5. Yeah, because I made this a while ago, and some of the features stopped working as well. This is the output question before triggering the full deep research. What are your thoughts and recommendations? Because not only can it optimize the initial prompt, it can also optimize for the answer to the prompt. Now, sometimes it's super simple and easy and you can definitely go for it. But in this case, especially because I really don't know much about winter tires, I'd be curious to see. Okay. Yeah. So see, the thing is, I would not have been able to say this exactly. And that's very interesting. I would have said something like it, but this is also where it gets tricky because you don't want to over rely on AI to the point where it starts doing the thinking for you. And this is flirting on a line that's a little precarious. So anyways, I'll be letting this research run. It's going to take a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the recording here. Otherwise, it's going to be long. But yeah, so I'm going to restart the recording once we get a little closer. While this is running, I'll continue with my other tasks. I've got a few. So in the meantime, take care of yourself. And remember, as always, if ever you want to see, my finger doesn't really go there because the camera cuts off, but if you're curious to see how long this takes, you can also look at the live time counter up there, and you'll be able to see when the recording restarts. So see you in a bit. All right, checked back in, and it has completed. It ran for 9 minutes, 24 sources, 174 searches, and it looks like this. So now just to do a size comparison, and again, size isn't everything, but size is something. Take a look at how it's formatted and take a look at how long it is. And remember, it wasn't really optimized for knowing what's where in the recommendations and was very vague. This is the table of contents for this entire document, and let's take a look. I'll go at the same speed. So now, of course, we did ask for a much higher level of detail, but at the same time, even if we had gone with the high amount of detail and not the very high, we still would have had something quite expensive. And in terms of the actual contents, you can see there's a lot more segmenting, paragraphing, a lot more bullet points, so it's very clear what's what. It has a breakdown of where we can look for more details, key findings, so specifically on the subject. And when we go down, it's a lot clearer bundle deals versus à la carte, explaining the benefits, price matching, manufacturer rebates and sales, noise and comfort, and fees and true cost breakdowns, basically explaining the different components. So this is of course the detailed overview. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to use extended thinking to say the following. I now want you to create a comprehensive yet human legible summary of the key points and actionable breakdowns that come from this document. That way, I have an understanding of the best two paths that I can use and the recommendations that have come from this document. Much of this explains certain details around what is available, but I would like for you to create a condensed summary for human legibility, going over the two execution paths. And just for the sake of it, I will also do another test where we branch this chat. So I'm going to only send this in the branched chat. Oh, and we'll turn off deep research mode. I don't know why it adds thank you. That's interesting. And over here, okay, so now basically I want to see what it's going to come up with as what the fuck? No, what the? That was, okay, probably, oh, okay, I turned off deep research, so I did this, you know, because I wanted to analyze. But here's the thing, the reason why I am doing it with the branch chat is I also want to show you. Lyra, the prompt optimizer, can be used for more than one thing. Okay, I've now received the output, and I want you to use the following prompt that I'm going to copy paste to you and expand it so that it meets my needs. I'm going to keep it just as vague as that and see what it comes up with. So the idea is, on one hand, I gave this paragraph to the exact same chat, and I want to see what it comes up with. It didn't really think at all, it just read the document and came up with the basic recommendations. And now I'm curious to see what happens if we go the other route. So now it's currently doing analysis. It's wondering the best way to now summarize the information, because I wanted to produce the information that was available, and now I want to condense it even further. I will, of course, be taking time to read the document itself, because this is going to be a major decision for purchasing, and there's a reason we went all this depth in. But given that I've already spent one deep research run just for the sake of experimentation, I'm curious to see how much of an impact using, oh my god. Yeah, so look, like literally, this became this. And so now we're going to copy the code, go back here, and ask an extended thinking. And basically, So, do you see a difference? Basically, the reason why I'm doing this recording, and had I gone into it with a specific plan, I could have done this a little more precise and less lengthy, so I apologize for this being an hour and a half so far, but oh no, it's true. Oh, okay, this is gonna trip me up, because the thing is, I did a cut of the recording, so it's probably not actually an hour and a half. It's probably more of an hour, but I previously did another recording. Let's see if I can find it. How big was that recording? 38 minutes. Okay, so basically whatever time it is now minus 38. So it's probably around 56 or 58 minutes, give or take. Okay, so we're coming up onto an hour, which I really want it to be more than that. So that makes sense. Yeah, that's going to start tripping me up if the recording time does not snap back. Ah, that's going to be weird. Okay, anyways. So at least I know how long I've been recording. But I suppose something that I could do is I could essentially just reset it every single time with the timer. So I start a fresh timer every single time that um, just refreshing the timer every single time that I restart the recording. That could do it. Though it seems like I unintentionally cropped a little bit too much. And let's remove some from the left. And let's put a little more on the right. Actually, it's pretty good. Okay. And now let's keep it like that. So that way I'll be able to go and refresh the individual timer itself per section. The only thing, I don't like that that shows up in the recording. It's more information for me, honestly. No system is perfect. So anyways, basically now we're not going to go through the entire thing because it's not really relevant to you. I don't think you need to know the specifics about where to buy winter tires in Montreal, but if ever you do, just send me a message. I'll send you this PDF document that has outputted. But basically, this is what the recommendation looks like. Quick overview, best recommendations, path A, path B, 3 paths. And then, oh, no, 2 execution paths, and then going into that detail, a condensed view of the grid, and then flat fees, itemized costs, common old stock, call scripts. So it even gives me a call script for everything. And then the unknowns of verification. Yeah. So like basically just this goes to show that you can always further optimize, and it really is to your service. It really is to your benefit to make the most out of it, because no matter what you do, you're always going to have access to the same base capacity, but the limits of the AI are entirely dependent on your ability to know what to do with it. And most people simply do not know what to do with it, which does you a disservice. So the reason why I'm making this video, and the reason why I spent an extra deep research request token, is because I wanted to demonstrate what one can do. Now, the next time that I do one of these examples as a recorded video, I'm going to give it a little more thought and do something more concise, but I am very glad to have done this because at least now I have something to show people about what it looks like. And if you're interested on how to do this yourself, how to use the resources, where to find the link for Lyra and things of that nature, all of that and more will be available either at time of release or shortly after, because we're going to be building it together, the Academy. The Human Experience Academy, or the acronym the THE, the Human Experience Academy. So the Academy, and it's going to essentially be a compendium resource of, gosh, kind of everything. Actually, I'm going to give you a tiny sneak peek, and then we're going to end the video. Just a second. Okay, so essentially, oh, also, this is worth mentioning. The course has not been made by AI. The information has not been made by AI. This is I'm using AI to create a summarized table of instructions based off of many conversations. And all of this is even, it goes deeper because it's also the culmination of literal years of work on the back end and close to 10,000 hours worth of, at least 6,000 to 8,000 hours worth of work on this project, which is now being funneled through the package of the Academy. So just to be very clear, this is not an AI generated course. It's just helping with the structure. So let's go with this and this. So basically, this is the Canvas document that essentially I kept iterating on to develop into the final understanding of what we're working with. So basically, as you can see, there were a few revisions to this document, and that's only this version. There were others. But essentially, just to give you an idea of what the course is going to contain, and again, if you want to pause, you definitely can, but I'm going to go a little bit quick. And just to show you that basically I'm creating an understanding of where the series are going to go, what are locked at certain inventory levels. So this was me creating the basic structure and map. This is me then breaking down what's going to go into the individual steps of what each course level contains. So now based off of that information, I input a prompt that I optimize with Lyra. Then it goes into basically breaking down for each level, for each course, the build track, the primer track, what does that contain, the vaults, the different weekly cadences for the systems, then what each course system is going to include, a glossary, checklist, building all of it out so that we have a basic understanding of what the course is going to come as the MVP form, and then a little bit later. Most of this is just the MVP version that is going to be live within 1 to 2 weeks. And trust me, there is so much more to do, so much more. So I will end it here. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it's been interesting to you. If you're interested in learning how to do this yourself or have a build track on how to do even more, links to the Academy will hopefully be below. And if they're not, they can be found somewhere. And if they can't, well, that's life. But they will be able to be found somewhere at some time in some way. And until that day, I wish you the best of luck on your journey. Take care. Now, is it Control Shift R? What is the split recording is Control Shift R. Bye bye.